As you go through school looking at future career options, have you ever thought about what it is you really want to try to do? Let me list 10 things that I think everybody ought to consider in their future career decision. Number one, you need to be looking for a job that's secure. It's got great entry-level income, excellent long-term income potential, and that has a possibility, if you're interested in owning your own business or the business that you work for, by your mid-30s, within 10 to 15 years after you start that job. I think that needs to be a goal. Security up front, security long-term, number one. Number two, you have to look at yourself. Do you enjoy talking to people, or would you rather sit at home? If you enjoy talking with people, that does provide additional career options that maybe we don't normally think about. The third factor I think we have to be looking at is, we're looking at maybe a job that is working with people. Do we want to be involved in the decision-making process? Do we want to help the people that we work with make their decisions, or would we rather sit back and wait for them to decide on what to do? The fourth thing would be, would you rather dress in a professional manner, wearing the $1,000 suits, or would you rather dress in a business casual manner where you look presentable but comfortable in a much more casual but comfortable work environment? That's number four thing. Number five, what about commuting? You ever really thought about the hassles of commuting? Look at your friends, your parents, your family members. Do they really enjoy that 15, 30, 1 hour commute to work every day? Or would you rather just be able to jump in your car or even walk or bike to work and home from work at the end of every day? And while you're looking at commuting, in addition to the time, you have to consider parking costs, the higher costs of transportation, business attire. All of these things are involved with the decision that you have to look at as far as how you get to work. Number six, what about work hours? If you're looking at a field, for example, with a Big Four accounting firm, you're looking at killer work hours, 60, 70 hours a week all year long. Or would you rather have some flexible hours? Overtime's okay as long as I get paid, but I don't want to do it year round. Might want to consider that. Number seven, would you like to work in a flexible work hour environment? Instead of having to come into work every day at 8 o'clock and work until 5, maybe come in at 10 and work till 7. Maybe work 4 days a week for 10 or 12 hours a day, something like that. Always something to consider. Number 8, are you good at details? Do you enjoy lining things up and getting them organized and presented well, or are you a mess? You have to decide that. Number 9, do you want something that's got lifelong job growth potential? The future is the brightest in this field of any of the fields that the Small Business Administration or the United States government tells us to look at. You've got to look at future job growth. And number 10, would you like to avoid the corporate politics that you see played out so often on TV, in real life? Would you like to avoid some of those in-house political things and backstabbing activities? Well, what I'm talking about here is a career goal that many of us don't think about. We talk about things like accounting and taxes, and you've already determined, hey, I don't want to do some boring job like that. Let me explain some of the things that are out there. When I'm talking about accounting, I'm not talking the normal career goals that you talk about with your guidance counselor or school advisors. I'm talking about a third field. There are 3 main areas in accounting. There is what we call the Big Four, a good field if that's what you want to do, working for the major multinational corporation accounting firms that deal all over the world. Good field, as long as you recognize that list of 10 we went through, you're not going to punch more than 1 or 2 of those tickets. There's always corporate accounting. Hey, that's certainly a career option. Sitting in a factory, sitting in an office, 8 to 5, 40 hours a week for 35 years. Boy, am I excited about that. What I'm talking about is not those 2 things. I'm talking about the third career option, and that is accounting for small firms. This is a field most Americans are not aware of. It's currently populated by an aging profession of smaller firms that are protected by continuous congressional changes with IRS, needs for small businesses for our advice, and it's populated with the brightest career opportunities of any job prospect in America. And let me tell you, folks, it is not a boring job. I would love to talk to you. Let me explain who I am. My name is Bob Jennings. I am a CPA. I started my career in a Big Four accounting firm and loved while I worked there, but I realized I wanted more hands-on. I wanted more interaction. I didn't want to deal with a 9 to 5 sitting in a little cubicle all day worrying about getting stabbed in the back by somebody else. I wanted to get out there. I wanted to talk to people. I wanted to be respected, to provide advice that they followed. As a CPA, I've got that knowledge. But I've gone beyond that. I'm also a very rare, someone called an IRS enrolled agent. I'll tell you about that in a minute. I'm also president of a national seminar company that trains CPAs, enrolled agents, tax professionals, and small business advisors on financial and tax topics all over the world. And what I want to do is to open your eyes to the third option that is available out there. Let's start with your number one question. Bob, how much money can I make? Well, if you're a Big Four or corporate accountant, you know what those people are offering. I don't. You can compare that. But I can tell you what you can expect to earn right out of college with an entry-level accounting degree, a bachelor's degree in accounting, or maybe even a 2-year technical degree. And that's what we're looking for in small firm accounting offices all over the United States. So what am I going to be looking at? You're looking at a starting salary in the low to mid 30s, possibly 40s. And of course, if you're in New York City or LA, maybe even $50,000 right out of the gate. That's a great starting salary. Occasionally, I'll have students who will say something to me, well, Bob, my gosh, you guys are offering 35. I can go to Smith, Young and Company and get 50,000 working in New York City. Well, let me see. In my office, you can dress like this instead of spending $5,000 a year on corporate attire. In my office, you don't have commuting costs instead of riding a train or a bus or driving for an hour every day. In my office, you don't have tolls you have to worry about. In your office, you've got to worry about parking. In my office, you're dealing with people that want and need your advice instead of sitting in a cubicle adding up strings of numbers hour after hour. Does it make it a little more interesting? I love my job, but I've got to get your attention right out of college, bachelor's degree. Let's use as a starting salary 30 to 32, maybe a little bit more. And of course, if you get to one of the large cities, a whole lot more. What if you don't have a 4-year degree? What about a 2-year degree? If you have a 2-year degree with the right classes, and that's going to be a key, with the right classes, you're looking starting salaries in low to mid 20s, pretty darn good starting salaries. And as I said, you're looking at apples to oranges here, local firms. The additional advantages are we have flexible hours and informal attire and pleasant, comfortable work environments dealing with changing things every day. And most importantly of all, you never hear about someone being laid off from a small accounting firm. It just doesn't happen. Well, what's the long-term potential working in a small firm accounting office? Well, of course, you get a great starting salary, pleasant, comfortable working environment. You get to deal with decision makers. And if after you've been there for a few years, what can you expect? Well, what I like to tell people is somewhere between 6 to 10 years out, your salaries are going to double what you started at, depending upon your productivity in the firm. But somewhere around 6 to 10 years out, you'll be making twice as much as you used to make. And at about 10 years out, I will tell you, a third of the people that enter this field will be offered an opportunity to literally buy in or buy the entire firm of the company they work for. You could quickly, by the time you are 10 to 15 years out of college, be an owner of the place that you work. Unheard of opportunities in small firm accounting that's not available anywhere else. What about long term? After 15 or 20 years, what can you expect to do? After 15 to 20 years in a small firm accounting office, here's what you can look for. You can look for a very good 6-figure income. Yes, very good 6-figure income. You have tremendous upside potential to make more, either in actual work, selling the practice, something like that. You also have a level of respect from your friends and peers that goes with almost no other field in America today. This is an extremely respected, sought-out profession that people come to you for your advice, for the knowledge that you bring them, and to help you participate or to ask you to participate in other endeavors. Well, have I got your interest? I hope I have. What is it that the small firm accounting firms are looking for? What do we want when we're hiring? After 30 years as a small firm accountant, I'll tell you right up front, I am much more interested in practical stuff than I am in the normal mundane accounting classes. I'm looking for people that have a personality. I prefer to have people that maybe have worked while they've gone to college. I would rather have someone who's got a C plus or a B minus average and put themselves through school than someone who's got straight A's and took every class that you need to work in international accounting. Why? We don't care about international accounting. I want useful stuff. You see, what you don't realize when you're taking those international accounting classes, you don't have anything that's useful at a local level. If you get laid off, you don't have career options. We've got those options. So what do I want? I want somebody that's knowledgeable in QuickBooks. You can take a QuickBooks class at your local adult education course. I want that. Why? Because that's what all my clients use. And if you bring that skill to me, my gosh, you are immediately employable. I want somebody who understands payroll taxes, who knows what a W-2 and a 941 and a 940 is. Why? Because I deal with this on a regular basis. I need somebody who understands individual income taxes, not who just took one little class in college doing it on a return, but has a little bit more experience. Maybe they've taken a couple of classes. Maybe they've worked part-time in a local accounting firm for tax season. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for someone who understands the financial statements I prepare for small business. We're not talking audited international accounting standards. I'm talking about technical terms like compilations, the income tax basis. That's what I want. If you can take these classes, take them. Take every one that you can and take them immediately. And I'll tell you, if you're taking those classes, you don't need to graduate because we'll hire you when you're a sophomore or a junior. If you come to me and you've had a QuickBooks class and you understand what a compilation is and the income tax basis, folks, you can write your ticket today. Immediate opportunities for employment available. If the school that you're going to doesn't offer those classes, go to the professors and show them this DVD. You got to offer the practical stuff for the third career option out there. Now, here's some practical advice for you. You want to have a little trick that makes you much more employable than any of your friends? The IRS recently instituted a new law that says in order for you to do tax returns, you have to have what's called a PTIN, a Preparer Tax Identification Number. Get one. Go to the IRS's website, type in the search engine PTIN, Preparer Tax Identification Number, and get one. Why? You got to have one to work in a small firm accounting office, and I will guarantee that none of your fellow students have ever heard this term in any class they have taken. Get a PTIN. After you get the PTIN, the IRS has a new entry-level examination to prove your entry-level competency to do a tax return. It's called the Registered Tax Preparer. Take that test. It's not a killer test. Study for it a little bit. Of course, I'm willing to sell you a class, but you don't have to do it for me. Study for it, get you a PTIN, and you're immediately employable. If you have a PTIN and you have passed that entry-level competency exam, you can go to work in any city in the United States today, immediately dealing with classes. All right? Join your local non-CPA society. Every state in the country has a CPA society. Hey, they're great. They do a wonderful job. But there are societies that are aimed more at local offices, and that's the ones you need to join. Your Society of Accountants, not your Society of CPAs. What are some societies? Well, I deal with, on a national basis, the National Society of Accountants, the National Association of Enrolled Agents. At the state level, most states have an equivalent society. You join them, most of them will allow a student in for nothing or next to nothing, and that'll give you immediate interaction with the folks who are desperate to hire students out of school. What about the boredom factor? You know, I constantly hear, I don't think that I could do this. Let me tell you, in a local firm, there's no boredom. I will guarantee you'll never be bored. Let me give you an average day in my office. On an average day in my office, I'm going to do a tax return or two. Not a billion, one or two. I'm going to talk with the IRS maybe once during the day. I'll talk to a couple of bankers. I may go out and visit a client 2 or 3 times during the day. I'll probably once, twice, 3 times a week have lunch with the client and give them the advice they want about, should I buy a new truck or should I lease? What about refinancing my home? What's the best type of investment that I can do? Bob, how about retirement planning? What about health insurance costs? These people want your advice. They ask for it. They love meeting with you, and they're actually even willing to pay for it once you get the knowledge. I'm telling you, you won't be bored in this job. To give you an idea what we deal with, let me give you a short summary of the clients that I have dealt with over my 30 years as a professional. I have had as clients, or have now, I deal with airports. I deal with airplane owners. I have had clients who are models, and I'm not talking just local models. I've had clients that you've heard of. I've had clients that you've seen on TV. I've had clients who are farmers, small business owners, doctors, lawyers, performers, musicians, actors, child care centers, body shops, pharmacists, you name it, I've dealt with it. And that's why you never get bored, because you're seeing things and you're thinking, really? I didn't know that. In short, working for a local accounting firm is an exciting career. It's full of tremendous financial and personal opportunity, tremendous job growth, personal satisfaction. After 30 years, I love to go to work every day. I love my job. I like the people I work with. I like the people that I deal with. My clients like me, and I get well paid for it. I don't know how you can get much of a better job. We would love to talk to you about entering our profession. Talk with us about the opportunities that are available. Join your local or state societies, and thanks so much for listening. My name is Bob Jennings. We would love to see you join our profession. Thanks. See you again down the road sometimes.